Welcome to Catalytic Leadership, the podcast designed to help leaders intentionally grow and thrive. Here is your host, author, and leadership and executive coach, Dr. William Attaway.
Hey, it's William, and welcome to today's episode of the Catalytic Leadership Podcast. Each week, we tackle a topic related to the field of leadership. My goal is to ensure that you have actionable steps you can take from each episode to grow in your own leadership. Growth doesn't just happen. My goal is to help you become intentional about it. Each week, we spotlight leaders from a variety of fields, organizations, and locations. And my goal is for you to see that leaders can be catalytic no matter where they are or what they lead. I draw inspiration from the stories and journeys of these leaders, and I hear from many of you that you do too. Let's jump into today's interview. I'm so excited today to have Adam Packard on the podcast. Adam is the CEO of Ninja Prospecting, where they build themselves as the opposite of every LinkedIn marketing company. Good old-fashioned hard work, 100% done for you. In a world of spam and mass messaging, they take you step by step through creating and executing the ideal strategy to fill your pipeline with ideal prospects. Adam, I'm so glad you're here. I'm looking forward to this conversation. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I would love for you to share some of your story with our listeners, Adam, particularly around your journey and your development as a leader. How did you get started?
Oh man, goes back a long ways. I would say it probably started with my dad was an entrepreneur growing up. He started a copier business, grew it to 100 employees,
Wow.
and really kind of showed me, okay, being a business owner is probably the direction I need to go. He was also a Dale Carnegie instructor, and so
Nice.
one thing that he didn't force my brother and I, but he kind of highly encouraged us to go through that course. So I did that when I was probably 20. And so that kind of got me into the whole personal development field. My brother started working for a motivational speaker. So that, kind of, again, I had the chance to hang with a lot of the greats, the Jim Rohns and Tony Robbins and Brian Tracy. So that's kind of where my whole leadership and, learning from some of these greats started, and started the business with my dad and my brother and did pretty well together. But, we had to lead a team, and, leadership is, I really think leadership is leading by example, showing people the path. Don't ask someone to do something that you're not doing yourself. In fact, I remember an interesting story back when we were in our company that we built together. We had a group of about 30 of our team members with us, and we brought in a motivational speaker. And I looked at him and I said, "Man, I wish more of our leaders were here." And he looked at me. He's like, "Your leaders are here." And I was like, "Ooh, that's good." I was like, "Oh, that just stung. That was really good." So, but yeah, and then got out of the business that we were in and started a corporate position and realized that really wasn't for me, and got laid off probably 6-7 years ago, and that's where I started to figure out what's next for me, and had a friend that needed some help generating some opportunities for his new business. I found myself on LinkedIn trying to help him do that and got pretty good at it. And hence Ninja Prospecting was born, where we thought we were going to be different in the space, but come to find out there are thousands of people that do something similar in this regard. But, we pride ourselves in being different and having a different approach and doing everything manually and making it feel more custom and one-on-one. But it's been an interesting journey for sure. You look back over all the different things that you do in your past, and you're like, this helped me do this, and this position helped me get here. And so it's all stepping stones. You don't realize it until you're, past that moment. But when you look back at kind of the trajectory of the career, it's definitely been building blocks for what we've created here.
There's no such thing as a wasted experience, is there?
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, always learn. So you can either use it as a learning experience, or you can look at it as something that's going to deter you. So, even God doesn't give you challenges to, just crouch down. You've got to rise above and see how you level up.
That's so true. So true.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You say there are thousands of people in the space, in the prospecting space on LinkedIn. I think that's true because I believe they are all in my inbox.
Yeah.
At least that's how it feels. Like every week.
And they're in my inbox too, which is even funnier if they would actually look at my profile and realize, hey, we're kind of competition, but not really because your approach is really just garbage. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, right. So what makes ninja prospecting different? Like, what's the differentiator for you guys?
Yeah, it's a great question, and people ask me that all the time. The hardest part is cutting through the noise on LinkedIn and sending someone the message that gets their attention.
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing is if you look at what most companies do when it comes to prospecting and starting conversations from cold strangers, you have to just look at it almost like you're, networking in a room full of people, striking up a conversation. How would you naturally start a conversation with someone? So we pride ourselves in being anti-link, anti-spam. The only goal that we have for what we do is to create new conversations, create engagement, create curiosity,
Mm.
be permission based, ask the right question, and just have fun with it. I mean, if you look at the messaging that we do to strike up conversations, I get a lot of replies back saying, "Hey, that was a great message, a really unique approach, and I love your ideas here. I don't need any help in this space, but I'll hang on to your info."
Mm.
To me, that's a win.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of that for our clients too. So really just trying to humanize the approach. Like I said, there's too much spam, there's too many bots, there's too many automation tools out there where you just get plugged into a
Mhm.
system and a template and just a mass message. So we take a different approach where we try to customize everything based on, who you're trying to reach and what's unique about your offer and what makes you different, and try to make something that is almost an extension of your brand versus us coming in and just being a service provider.
Yeah.
So we come in more as a growth partner where we make money when you do. That's our plan. That's how I think it should be. Is if we're good at what we do, we put our money where our mouth is and say, hey, we can help you do this if you need more conversations and more opportunities. But you have to convert them on the other end, and that's how we both make money.
Mm. That is unique because so many of the prospecting companies, they want money up front, right? They want, hey, you've got to give us this amount of money to get started, and then we're not going to be responsible for your results.
Yeah, well, there's a couple things in that. So I do believe that both parties have to have some skin in the game, right?
Sure.
Otherwise, we could be taken advantage of, and people are
Mm.
just using us for generating opportunities and not not compensating us at all. So I think there has to be some kind of a partnership where you have some skin in the game, I have some skin in the game, but it is based on results. And if for
Mhm.
some reason we don't generate those results, then we're not waiting 3 months and then pinging you and saying, "Hey, you're up for renewal."
Right.
And you're like, well, you didn't talk to me in 3 months and we didn't get any results. So we stay on top of it. We have regular communication. So
Mm.
any marketing is testing and tweaking. I mean, that
Yes.
going in. It's not like you're going to
Yeah.
run a Facebook ad and 6 months later check the stats. You're probably checking it daily to see if it's getting the results and you're making slight tweaks and adjustments. It's the same thing with LinkedIn. You have to adjust it constantly just to kind of make sure it's fine tuned and really feels and flows the right way.
So when you're talking about social media, I mean, there's so many different places. Why zero in on LinkedIn?
Honestly, we started there because when my friend asked me for help, I did some research as to who his audience was, and the only place I could find them easily was on LinkedIn.
Hmm.
I think it's a more professional platform, although there is a lot of spam and garbage. The average, net worth and income of each user on LinkedIn is higher than any other platform. And just the search parameters when you use Sales Navigator,
Hmm.
I can find exactly who I'm looking for. If I wanted to connect with the CEO of a Fortune 500 company that also went to Penn State, I can do that and make a
Yeah.
connection. Whereas I can't find them on Facebook.
Yeah.
I loathe Facebook Messenger. I just get so much spam and garbage there that it just
Yeah.
feels like a pitch fest.
Yeah.
Whereas I use LinkedIn more as a speed networking, build relationships. Yes, there might be some opportunities for us now, but also keep the door open for potential opportunities in the future. That's what you should do on LinkedIn is, approach people the right way so you don't burn through relationship capital because you approach them poorly and ask them to marry you on the first date, right? I think we talked about that before. It's like,
Yeah.
don't connect and pitch, don't connect and send me your link to a calendar for a discovery session. Ask me a question, right? I mean, most of these companies that reach out that say I can fill your calendar with 10 or 20 appointments a week, they don't even know what your business is.
Right.
So that's shocking to me. But again, they hope they throw enough messages out there that something sticks. And they generate some business. But our approach is a little bit different. I like to have conversations with people first,
Yeah.
find out who you are, what you're doing, who you're trying to help, seeing if we can help you get more of those people in your pipeline. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. So I turn away half the people that I talk to, probably just to say, hey, what you have is not quite dialed in enough to make it work for what we do. So go and send them back to the drawing board. I send them all of our onboarding stuff, even just to, say, hey, here's what you need to really dial this in if you want to market yourself better. But the approaches are different. If I'm talking to, someone that is targeting C-suite executives and business owners, it's a totally different approach than targeting a middle manager at a company.
Yeah.
So that's such an important piece that most people just gloss over. But who you're reaching out to, well, I'm going to tell you, if you're reaching out to founders of startups, they're probably getting 50 messages a day from people pitching them services left and right. You better have something that's unique, special, different, whether it's in your offer or in your approach to them, to get them interested, to spark that conversation.
You said something there that's interesting, and sure listeners caught on this. You turn down half the people who want to work with you.
Yeah. In the beginning, when I started this, it was anybody that had a credit card and a LinkedIn account, right? I mean, you do what you can in the beginning. And I was signing up people for like a year-long agreement, and I'm looking back at that. You talk about stepping stones and learning from things, realizing nobody that meets me cold off of a LinkedIn message is going to want to sign up for a year out of the gate.
Yeah.
So we moved to smaller programs, and now even just do month to month. But yeah, that's you definitely learn as you go and realize that there are some things that we probably could have done better. But yeah, I look for three things when it comes to people that I can help. Number one is your audience on LinkedIn, and is it dialed in where it's more than just business owners or salespeople? They say the riches are in the niches. I do believe that. I think in order to make a cold message relevant, you have to be specific to the audience.
Yeah.
So that's the key. First thing is they have to have a unique audience that they're trying to reach. Second thing is what's unique, special, different about you. I mean, we work with a lot of people in the coaching space, and sadly, I talk to a lot of coaches, and their offer is I help business owners with leadership development, and great, but I'm going to throw open my mouth a little bit because that's not good enough. I can't market that. It's going to be white noise on LinkedIn. So almost looking at what is it that, whether it's your background or who you serve or something in your offer or your approach or your strategy or your tactics, what is it that you do that's different, special, unique?
Yeah.
And what type of result can you help people get?
Yeah.
From there, I can work backwards and kind of figure out the best way to approach it. That's the second part. And the third part is you have to be able to convert people. Sadly, there's a lot of people that think that leads are their problem.
Yeah.
When in fact, I fill them with leads and they realize I don't have a system to manage this. I don't know how often to follow up. I don't know what to say when I follow up. I don't know how to convert on a sales call.
Yeah.
So that's the hardest part of our business is we're really good at getting the conversation started and handing it off. Sadly, there are a lot of people on the other end that don't have the system structure tools in place to be able to manage the pipeline and know what to do with it in order to make the cash register ring.
That's really good. And I love that you've dialed in your expectations, because I think so often that's a big hole in a lot of business relationships. Frustration comes from missed expectations, right? Well, if the expectations aren't clearly delineated from the get-go, you increase the likelihood of frustration and disappointment by a factor of 10.
Yeah, that's a great point. And this is something I bring up on every call is, usually expectations of clients are here, service providers are here, and no one's ever going to be happy. Clients are expecting, I'm going to bring in 5-10 clients a month from this. I am not your golden ticket, holy grail. We are one source of helping you generate new conversations. If you're out there building a business, you need to have 10-15 ways that you generate conversations. LinkedIn should definitely be one of them. But yeah, the expectations is a big one for us. We're more in the under promise, over deliver. So we give a guarantee of a certain number of leads over a certain time frame, but it's really lowballing because I know what our average clients bring in. But I'd rather be the guy that under promises and over delivers versus the guy that comes in and says, I can fill your calendar. No, our average clients bring in 1 to 2 clients a month. That's it.
Yeah.
It's not huge numbers, but if you're not bringing in any right now on LinkedIn, that's kind of what we do. Our best clients bring in 4 to 7, and I do have clients that don't bring in any, and that's the challenge that I have is I can't help them with the follow up and the conversion part. I can, if they come to me saying I need more opportunities, I give them the opportunities, and they can't, take them and run with them. But yeah, expectations, keeping those aligned and in check so that we're both on the same page is really important. But then also the way that we structure it, it's more, like I said, more of a growth partner. So I'm trying to move away from that charge $1,000 a month and be a service provider, and be more of I'm going to help you as much as I can to convert the ones that I give you, because then we both make money.
Yeah. No, I think that's brilliant.
Yeah.
When I was reading about your background, I ran across something that really intrigued me. You are a PGA Class A golf pro. That's
Yes.
interesting.
Yes.
I just, that's not something that I expected to find. I mean, looking at Penn State, looking at, all these things that you have done, sales and whatnot. You're a golf pro.
I am a golf pro. Yes.
I'm curious. Has there been things that you learned in that part of your life, previously, that have carried over and have helped you as a business owner and as a leader of teams now?
That's a good question. I mean, you look at, I always tell people I got into golf just because I had no idea what I was going to do out of college, and I was good at golf. So I got into golf as a profession. And I tell people it was a fun experience when I was in my early 20s. I get to work at some great golf courses and meet some awesome people. But I always tell people you work long hours, you don't make any money, and you don't get to play any golf. So I kind of get away from the golf industry. I think, if I look at how golf applies to business and leadership, I think you look at more of golf when you're out there, playing it by yourself. You're the only one that can call a penalty on yourself, or you're keeping your own score. So there's little nuances in the game of how you react to a bad shot or a good shot, how you react to your competitor hitting a good shot or a bad shot. I think there's a lot of things that you can learn from people watching them on the golf course. Are they throwing clubs? Are they swearing? Are they yelling? Are they frustrated? Or are they kind of cool and calm and collected? And that's more of my style. I think that kind of comes through in my leadership style. And then even on the conversations I have with people is I'm not forcing it. I don't get too high or too low emotionally.
Yeah.
I keep pretty even keel. And I think that translates well in business.
Again, no wasted experience, right? Everything that happens in your life, you can learn from, and it benefits you, or it's something you can use to teach and benefit other people.
Right.
I love that. I'm curious, Adam, how do you stay on top of your game? Like, you've got to constantly be learning and growing. Like, your business, Ninja Prospecting, is going to need you to lead at a higher level 12 months, 24 months, 5 years from now than you are today. It's going to need you to be a better leader. It's going to need you to be a better entrepreneur. How do you level up?
I believe in having people that have gone before me and know things that I don't know, and learning from them. So I have multiple coaches myself that help me in certain areas, operations, mindset. But yeah, you're right. I'm always learning and growing. I'm a personal development junkie. I've read every book you can imagine. Applying it's another thing, but I've read all the books. But yeah,
that's good.
In this space, you have to constantly evolve. I think what worked 5 years ago on LinkedIn doesn't work today. And so if you're not staying on top of things and realizing that shifts need to be made, I mean, 5 years ago, you could spam 100, 150 connections a day, not be very good at it, and still get results. Yeah. When LinkedIn put the limitations on what we can do, we've got to be a lot more efficient and effective. So I think, constantly evolving and seeing what's next. Now we're coming out with a whole new platform and software that we're building that will be kind of everything that you need on LinkedIn created for you, which is going to be really cool. But yeah, I think, what I do personally, I'm a morning person. So 4:15, I'm up in the morning. I get a couple hours of work in where, I'll do my reading, and I'll do some visualizing, meditating, journaling, kind of setting the tone for the day and kind of just starting my day out the right way. I found that when I sleep in and I'm kind of rushing around in the morning, the day never really goes that well. So kind of giving myself a little bit of space and time just to sit back and reflect and think I think that's one piece that's missing for a lot of entrepreneurs and leaders, is just taking that time to just be still, be in silence, silent your mind, turn off your devices, and don't check your email, every 3 seconds. But it's a challenge. I mean, there's a lot of demands coming from every direction, whether it's clients or my team. So I've got to manage that and still have time for myself. But that's why I like to get up a couple hours early and make sure I have time before the little guy and mom wake up, so I can kind of focus on me for a little bit.
Mm. That sounds incredibly healthy. I love the balance that you have there. I love the rhythm that you have there. I think I love most the intentionality of what you built. That didn't just happen.
It's taken a lot of work, a lot of trial and error, a lot of getting a lot of no's. You have to have thick skin in this business. I'll tell you, I get some nasty responses, and I get some responses that make my day. And it's you have to look at it and say, at the end of the day, I'm trying to make a meaningful connection with another human to see if I can add value and be a resource. That's it. If I can help, great. If not, hopefully I left a better taste in your mouth of what a lead gen guy could be or what a marketing guy could be. So that's our approach.
It's easy for somebody to look at you and so many other successful entrepreneurs and say, oh, wow, his journey's just been up and to the right. I mean, it's just, there's been nothing but green, blue skies and green pastures for this guy. He's not dealing with the same challenges that I deal with. He's not dealing with, difficult team members and difficult clients and et cetera, et cetera. Because, we look at the highlight reel, right? We look at what's online, and it's so easy to think that. My guess is that you have had some challenges as an entrepreneur.
It's part of it. It's an everyday. It's not there's always challenges. Yeah.
What are some of the things that you have struggled through as you have built into this life?
Oh man, that's a great question. I think looking back, there are stretches where it's easy to be in a good mood when things are going well.
Yeah.
It's not so easy to be in a good mood when things are you're struggling, or you have a big pipeline of people that say they're coming on board and they don't. How do you manage those emotions where you don't come off as desperate?
That's good.
So I think managing my emotions is the hardest part of this business, because it relies a lot on me just kind of staying with it and focusing more on the activity. So whenever I get in these funks, I mean, if you look at the success curve, I mean, it's not a straight line. It's up and down. It's up and down. The key is, how do you manage your emotions when you're up? How do you manage them when you're down?
Yes.
Right. It's easy to be in a good mood when things are up. It's hard to be in a good mood when things are down. But if you can kind of keep an even keel and then just focus on the things that you can control. Right. So if I look at my calendar, what can I do to stay positive? Well, I can add more value to my clients. I can reach out and offer support. I can have more conversations. I can focus on the activities that move the needle and maybe detach a little bit from the results and people coming on board. Because there are those stretches and those waves where you're like, gosh, everything was going great. Now all of a sudden, what's going on? Do I need to change something? Is something wrong? Whereas nothing's wrong. You just need to focus on, hey, just keep doing the right work. You're doing good work. You're attracting the right people. Keep focus on your vision and your belief. And maybe focus a little bit more on other people and worry less about yourself, and kind of get out of your own way a little bit. That's kind of what I do when I kind of get in those funks, and they come. I mean, there are stretches where I'll have a few weeks and I'll just be completely frustrated, but the following week, all of a sudden I bring on 3-4 new clients, and I'm like, oh, this is the greatest business in the world. Right. So it's a management of emotions, being in this role and helping to kind of move the business forward. But that's a great question.
And I love that. And I think that's something that a whole lot of people struggle with, emotional regulation and learning how to manage those peaks and valleys. That's not easy.
No. It's luckily the mindset coach helps me quite a bit. So kind of, telling, creating my own story, creating my own vision, focusing on that. Even this morning I was making some notes, and I need to, I do my thing in the morning, but I think there are stretches in the middle of the day or even towards the end of the day where I need to take a break, sit down for 15 minutes, close my eyes, not take a nap, but just kind of like
Mhm.
internalize, focus, kind of regain
Yeah.
my composure and then get back to it.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be more of that, take some time for yourself. Like yesterday,
Mhm.
I worked for like 4 or 5 hours straight and decided to just get up and go for a walk and
Yeah.
just get outside and get some sunshine. So I think we need more of that as an entrepreneur to take time for yourself, and whether it's taking your wife on a date or taking your son to lunch, anything that kind of takes you out of it for a little bit to kind of reprioritize and realize why you're doing it.
I love the walk. I think that's so useful. I do the same thing. When I get stuck on a problem, I'm trying to create something, write something, and I just get stuck and I can't seem to break through it. I'll
Yeah.
do the same thing. I'll go for a walk. I had a friend of mine, Mark Batterson, tell me this years ago. He said, sometimes what you need is a change of place and a
Hmm.
change of pace.
Yeah.
And when you have a change of place and a change of pace, it can bring you a change in perspective. And
100%.
I go for that 15-20 minute walk and I come back, and it's so funny how often there's the answer. It's right there. It was not there when I left because I was
Yep.
stuck. I
Yep.
needed a change of place and a change of pace.
Yeah. Well, we went camping a few weeks ago, and it was on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So Monday's obviously my craziest day. And we get up there, and of course there's a cell phone tower right next to the campground. And we're up in the middle of the mountains in Arizona, 7,000 feet. And we drive in, and I have zero service. It says SOS on my phone. And I'm like,
Oh
okay.
my.
So we are unintentionally disconnecting here for a few days.
Yeah.
So, but it gave me, a chance to not focus on all the messages coming through and all the stuff on social media and just kind of think. And this is where we kind of decided to go more of the growth partner route to
Yeah.
kind of focus on more of a win-win scenario. So I think anytime you can unplug, like, and I mean completely unplug, the world's not going to come to an end, right? The
Mhm.
the fires will be there when you get back. You can put them out then.
That's good.
But you need that time for yourself to just completely detach from everything and just, you unlock some creativity, right?
Mm.
When we were kids growing up, we didn't have phones, we didn't have all the gadgets and stuff. My parents would say, go outside and play, right?
Yeah.
We don't do that really with kids these days.
Yeah.
But I think, being outside, being disconnected just allows your creativity to come through a little bit more. And that's definitely the case.
If you were to go back 6 or 7 years when you started Ninja, and you could go back and tell yourself one thing based on what you know now, what would you tell yourself?
Buy Bitcoin would be one.
Oh, that's great.
I would say find more team members faster that can help you fulfill and
Mm,
take some of the work off of your plate.
mm,
That's probably been the biggest challenge, is trying to do it all myself,
mm.
not leveraging other people, treating it
That's
more
good.
as a business than as a job. So look at myself more as a shareholder versus
Hmm.
the guy that has to do everything.
Hmm.
So I have found some great team members, so I'm not doing everything myself. I still am pretty involved in the business from a creative aspect, just because I
Hmm.
enjoy it. But I would say, looking back, I would have come into it more as a, how do I build this where I can take myself out of it at some
Hmm.
point if I want to have that option,
Hmm.
and find more team members faster.
Hmm. That's smart. I like
I
that.
think I think sometimes we have just the big ego that, oh, no one can do it as good as I can, right? Oh, I need to be doing all these little things, and I'm like, you know what? If I can find someone that can do it 80% as good as what I think is good,
Yes.
but it frees up a couple hours of my day, that should do that all day long. And so that would be what I would probably, go back and start over. I would probably prioritize that.
I love that. I have a sticky note on the left monitor here at my desk, and I see it every day. And there's a question on it. Is this the absolute best use of my time right now?
Yeah.
And so often I find myself looking at that and thinking, no, somebody else can do this. And I use the same 80% rule. If somebody else can do this 80% as good as I can, then I
Yeah.
need to let them do it and empower them.
Yeah. Yeah. Hard to do in the beginning. I do think it's important though in the beginning to, until you can offload that onto someone else, you have to know how to do it yourself.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, how can you teach someone else to do it? So I think it was important to understand every aspect of what we do and how to do it, and practice what we preach in the business. It's important to do it yourself first, but yeah, bringing on those right team members, it's a breath of fresh air when I wake up and I know, okay, this is being handled, that's being handled. I can focus more on clients. I can focus more on the creative stuff and don't have to worry so much on the other details.
Doing what only you can do.
Right.
That's good. You referenced earlier that you read a lot and that you've read many, many, many books. Is there one that stands out that you would recommend to the leaders who are listening?
Yeah, I mean, depends on what area. I know we talked about this before. There's so many different, are you talking mindset? Are we talking business? Right now, I'll tell you, I go back to a few books that I, try to reread every year or two. One of my favorite authors is Joseph Murphy, Power of Your Subconscious Mind. I think that's a powerful book, even though it was written so long ago and the examples are kind of funny with the numbers, but just I think the mindset part is such a important piece that people gloss over and they focus more on the day-to-day or the business or the operations. I think you even get the mindset piece, which is a constant challenge, right? So you're always learning, you're always growing. But anything Joseph Murphy, Wayne Dyer, I'm a big Wayne Dyer fan. I actually get to meet him a couple times. But the Power of Intention is another great one by Wayne Dyer. Of course, everybody's going to say the classics, Think and Grow Rich, and How to Win Friends and Influence People, and 7 Habits, and all those, which are all great. But for me, I think my favorite books are always the ones that are more the mindset ones, the belief ones that kind of help you expand. The Magic of Thinking Big. I'm a big Og Mandino fan too. I've read all of his, but I love his stories. I mean, God, just the way that he can kind of weave a message into a story and keep you engaged, and tell a powerful lesson. Those are some of my favorites.
I love that too. Og Mandino is one of my favorites.
Yeah. The Choice is my favorite one that he's done. The purple one. That's my favorite.
Yeah. Absolutely. Classic and awesome.
Yeah.
Typically people are going to walk away from an episode like this, Adam, with one big idea. If you could define what that one big idea was going to be, what would you want people to walk away with?
I mean, our specialty, and I think, my gift is turning cold strangers into warm friends. I think if you looked at networking and call it lead gen, call it outbound, cold conversation starting. If you looked at it as just a way to spark a conversation and meet someone new and add value to them, not only could you have an opportunity with them, but it also opens the door to a conversation with anybody in their network, and keeps that pipeline full. I think too many people approach prospecting from an angle of, I just need to be direct and sell my product. Whereas if you took a different approach, almost like joining a networking group, you don't join a networking group to sell the other members in the group. You join a networking group to get to know the other members in the group. Perhaps there's a chance that they could use your service, but you want to be introduced to their network. So I think if you use LinkedIn or any social tool as a way to build and nurture relationships, you open yourself up to building a much bigger pipeline over time. The challenge is we live in an instant gratification society where I need it now and I need it done yesterday. When in fact, the best approach might actually be to slow down in order to speed up. So that would be my advice is look at it as a way to build and nurture relationships, have fun with it, get creative. Don't attach to what someone says, to one of your messages that you send to someone, and be consistent. Talk about one of the key factors of our success has been we are consistently doing it every single day. There's no break. So finding a partner that can help you do that.
I know folks are going to want to stay connected to you and continue to learn from you and potentially explore what Ninja could do for them. What's the best way for people to find out more information about that?
I'm on LinkedIn 24/7, so you can always find me there. Ninjaprospecting.com is our website. I don't have an email newsletter yet. It's coming soon, so if someone wanted to keep in touch that way, but honestly, connect with me on LinkedIn, shoot me a message there, or come check out what we do on our website. And if you'd like to have a conversation and explore there's no hard sell on our end. I like to meet people and see what we can do to add value. And like I said, get into conversation and see how we might be able to help. So yeah, LinkedIn is probably the best spot to find me, or our website.
Adam, this has been so helpful, so practical, and so much insights you've dropped here. Thank you so much for your generosity today.
No, thank you for the opportunity. I always enjoy sharing and meeting new people. So yeah, I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining me for this episode today. As we wrap up, I'd love for you to do two things. First, subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you find value here, I'd love it if you would rate it and review it. That really does make a difference in helping other people to discover this podcast. Second, if you don't have a copy of my newest book, Catalytic Leadership, I'd love to put a copy in your hands. If you go to catalyticleadershipbook.com, you can get a copy for free. Just pay the shipping so I can get it to you, and we'll get one right out. My goal is to put this into the hands of as many leaders as possible. This book captures principles that I've learned in 20 plus years of coaching leaders in the entrepreneurial space, in business, government, nonprofits, education, and the local church. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn to keep up with what I'm currently learning and thinking about. And if you're ready to take a next step with a coach to help you intentionally grow and thrive as a leader, I'd be honored to help you. Just go to catalyticleadership.net to book a call with me. Stay tuned for our next episode next week. Until then, as always, leaders, choose to be catalytic.
Thanks for listening to Catalytic Leadership with Dr. William Attaway. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss the next episode. Want more? Go to catalyticleadership.net.